Let's just talk about like financial audit. Like how would you go about auditing your money? Do you recommend getting like a CPA? Do you just have like a fucking Google spreadsheet? Like, I mean, in my mind, it would be like very behooves everyone in the program to come up with a system. Like, Grant Cardone says, like, check your money every single day. Like, that's what you wake up. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, you get on the scale every day. If you're trying to manage your money, you look at your bank account every single day, see what's going out and what's coming back in. But yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think being able to, audit your own self, like self audit is like the key to success long term,
Yeah.
right? Now, like, when I didn't have money, I had to, save, but I saved, but I didn't just save money. I saved certain portion of my money and other portions I would invest and make, make something happen for myself. But, I believe there's like a 40-40-20 rule, so which is like the 40% of your income, you kind of like you basically end up paying like taxes on. You
Yeah.
40% is just taxed. You got 40% to to kind of invest. You have 40% to invest your money on cash flowing assets, so you can save 40% of that, so you're really living off 20%. So, and then if you can live off 20% of your income, that's where I would be shooting for initially. When you have, if you have no money, if you were to start from scratch, you would look at your overall income. You would save or invest 40% of your income. Pay the rest of it for your taxes, because you got taxes and everything else that you got to pay for all your. I would say and bills, right? Taxes, bills,
Life.
40% of your life expenses. And then 20% is what you have kind of like play money, but that play money is really what you want to live off of, and not just throw your money away to go out to a club or get drunk, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I've been doing, and I kind of like I was mentored that way because I felt like the old it was funny because all the old Hughes employees, when I used to work at Boeing and engineering companies, they all told me like, oh, like invest in real estate, invest in real estate. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I was like, why? I was like, well, you can't depend on the company to take care of you. So I was kind of like shocked coming out of school, and these baby boomers are telling me like, don't trust what you just got your school for. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so then like, why did I do this? So financially, I started to kind of reassess myself. I was already a little more conservative, but then I became like really dialed in, and I started to like I created a spreadsheet. I did income, expense, and we can provide that to the students. Very simple,
Yeah.
everybody that
We'll
wants to
have something.
kind of like line up your overall expenses, your overall first you hit your expenses, then you go and see how much money you have, and and he's like, well, how much money am I bringing every month? On all the assets, so you have, you look at your overall, net income or net, it might be a negative number,
Yeah.
so it just depends on where you are.
It's just really good to be on top of your finances because you sign up for so many softwares and so many like just weird things that just have a direct like grasp now on your bank account. Like, so if you're not constantly like monitoring it and like auditing where your money's going, you're never going to be able to get ahead. You're just going to basically be like, I call it like death from a thousand slashes. Like I have a
Yeah.
bunch of Google things that come out all the time. And I like now I sit down at the beginning of every month and I'm like, what are these charges? Where are they coming from? And how can I shut them off? And then how can I crank up the things that are really making me a lot more money? Or how can I shut these off and invest more money into things that are going to make me more money? That's kind of what people need to do is like be honest with yourself. And like, I would even want people to do like a 3 or a 6 month audit of their expense for the last 6 months. So like I'm an entrepreneur, so my money's all over the place. Like sometimes I'm killing it. Some months I'm like in the red. So I really have to teach myself to just take control of it. Like this kind of goes back to the mindset thing we were even talking about. It's like you're either a victim to your money or you're proactively monitoring and telling it where to go. And but if you're basically whenever something comes out of your account that you don't know what it is, you should basically see that as an alarm. Like you should be like, oh fuck, like what is that? Why is that connected? Why do they have access to digitally just rip money out of your pocket? Like if we were on the street and some guy with like an Apple hat came up and just like whipped $20 out of your pocket for no reason, like you would want an explanation as to like why that just happened. You know what I mean?
100%. Absolutely. And I think you hit it right there, bro. Like you hit it on nail right there. Because there's, I think people misunderstand the concept, like, money. There's money is like scarcity, right? So if you have
Yeah.
money, whenever you buy something, you're rendering money for some like, either a service or whatever you're getting. Like in this case, you're getting educated and you're going to get yourself to the next level because you've been changed in some way, shape, or form. You're getting value for your money. Whenever somebody takes your money, or whenever you give money, stealing is one thing, but whenever you give your money, you're literally giving a portion of your overall income or whatever you have saved, you're giving them away. There's no new money being made here. It's the same money that's being transferred. The only people that make money are trillionaires. They create money. They create money.
Yeah.
We on the surface level, those day-to-day individuals, all we're doing is we're exchanging money. We're giving you money and we're taking your money, right? We're exchanging money. So whenever you're looking at your overall audit, you're looking at, well, how much money am I giving away? I'm literally giving this money away. It's my money. Why am I giving it to, if you're watching TV, Charter, right? If you watch, in this case in LA, we have Charter Communications. If you have Netflix, right? Do you really use Netflix? Do you want to watch that? Do you really want to give them your money? So you should start thinking about all the expenses, because I've had a bunch of expenses I used to have, and I was just lazy to check it at one point. I'm like, man, why is this thing, keep charging me? And like, I'm like, I started looking at those things, and I started to separate my business expenses and my personal expenses. And then I start, that's one of the biggest key that I think we can train the students is, separate your business and your personal, because whenever you start to learn about financial, literacy, you really understand how finances work and how powerful it is to open up a business, and and having a business to run a lot of your expenses is actually a good thing, right? So instead of having all your expenses come out of your personal account, you can start working with a CPA, and we can refer CPAs. I have CPAs all day that I can refer to, and the guys that I work with, they're very old school. Some even worked at the for the IRS, so they know how to save you money. And they told me everything, throw it on your business, like don't keep it on your personal, because whenever you keep it on your personal, you are less likely to benefit from it. And you just need to be able to consistently, look at your expenses and make that your goal to kind of like make sure whatever expense you have, you're aware of it, and you're just, you're auditing it, you're keeping track of it. And I mean, that's what I'm talking about for anybody that's just starting off. Like, obviously, you get to a certain point, like like myself or Robert, you might have you might have money coming in and out, and it's like it might be small expenses here and there, and you're not like Netflix. Like, I'm not worried about Netflix, But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, like you have to be there. Like, if you're that 10, 15, $20. If that $20 is one of your, a part of your, like, let's say you make $1,000 a month, that's a good 2% of your income. So it's like, well, at the end of the day, you have to really think about where your money is going.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking in this program, what I want like people to do is like, I kind of want them to put on their little frugality hat, like I want you to fucking like go to the extreme though, like go into all the subscriptions that you have that are charging you every month and just fucking cancel everything. And then wake up the next day and decide, oh, do I actually need Netflix anymore? Do I actually need to be paying for all these different softwares that I'm not necessarily using all the time? So I think like in this program, like that's what I would want everyone to do is like do like a 3 to 6 month audit of all your finances, see the subscriptions that you've been paying, and just cancel as much crap as you can. And the next level up from there is negotiation. This is one thing that I really want to do a lot of preaching in this course is like call all your bill collectors, ask them why they're charging you that much and if they can lower their rates for you, or if there's any way that you can not pay so much for these things. And it's just like a good lesson to have, because a lot of these big companies, like whoever you're going to talk to on the phone, like it's not their money. They're just charging you surplus amounts because for whatever reason. And again, once you get to a certain level in like business and things, these things don't matter. But we're at like the foundations right now of like your financial audit and like fixing your credit, and like every penny that you save, you can put to invest to fix your credit. You can put to invest to get some more trade lines or to get more cards or whatever we're going to be, doing basically. But I think like the frugality aspect is like, once a year, especially like it's like February right now, like it's a good time to like check your finances and just go extreme. Like, why not? It's not going to hurt anything. You can they'll take your money back soon, but if you shut it all off so they can't take your money for a little while, and you like ask yourself, like, do I really need these expenses coming out every single month? I think that's like what a real audit is all about.
100%, Robert. I agree with you. And I even like now, now that we're talking about, like, man, I should go and check my stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to a certain point, like, whoa, like, man, I'm like, I got stuff coming out. I'm like, dude, I just been like, like it's like that constant, like, oh, you're too lazy to get it done. No, it's like you can do it. Allocate some time, whether
Yeah.
it's an hour a day, 30 minutes, like, make that call, for example, right? And get them on the phone. That's where that's the foundation. Like, so I go, financial literacy starts with foundation, clearing all your, unknown, unneeded expenses. So only, like, initially I would say, like, it's, there's the world of wants. Like, we want this, we
Yeah.
want that, right? But we have to start with the needs. Like, what do you need for your family, right? What does your
Yeah.
family need? Your family needs a place to live, right?
Mhm.
They need a roof over their head. They need to be able to eat, right? They need to have money for food, and they need to be able to drink water, right? Have water, and all that stuff is important. And at the end of the day, you also need to be able to have money for your, activity of entertainment, right? Your entertainment
Yeah.
activity, things that your family is going to do together. Like, you're not going to just sit home and like look at each other, right? So it's like, your kids, if you have kids, like, some of the students might have kids and they have families and they have mother and parents. Like, I always wanted to send my mom, my dad on a vacation,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I gotta save up, and I've done it, I mean, once, but like, I want to do it more, right? And the way I'm going to be able to do that is by, I'm going to look at my audit, I'm going to look at what I can afford, and then from there I can spend the money on them. But in the beginning, you have to do that. You have to clean all your slate, and then start to build on it. And
Yeah.
I think what, we can also refer to, you mentioned Grant Cardone. Another thing he mentioned, I agree with as well, is the fact that we all have this, kind of like scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
And I think finances, once you get over that barrier of like, okay, I know what I need, I know what my expenses are, I know what my income is, I know where I'm at. Once we get to that point, then we go into, a financial abundance, realizing that,
Yeah.
what really got me there is like, oh, now I'm not focused on just what I can save, being worried about, I can save on Netflix, I can save on this. I started to focus my attentions on how I can keep making more money. So
Yeah.
then I kept making more money. The small things didn't matter as much afterwards. But initially, I had to go through that whole, revamp and cleaning up my shit, basically, and making sure, I had, like, when I first bought my property, I had property taxes. I had to save up for that, right? I had to save up for the property taxes. I had to save up for the utility bills and everything. So all that
Mhm.
stuff, you have to kind of, like, kind of narrow down, and we'll help you narrow those down, and we'll provide the spreadsheets and things like that that can help you kind of put that together, on the personal side and the business side. We have, I have things that I can share. And I think we all have, that kind of like mindset now, that we're all like, we want to be more abundant, as
Yeah.
initially, or sorry, eventually. But people need to realize they can't be abundant grounded. They need to be grounded first before they can go off and just, spend their money, and try to make more money.
Yeah. And I mean, like the big three things that I always think about is like the first thing people should invest in is number one, themselves, right? Their mindset, their skills, invest in coaches, mentors. That's kind of why they're here in this program. And the next two, like no one's ever going to like be upset about spending more time with their family or their friends and experiences, right? So all that aside, like if we truly want to find financial abundance, all we're talking about right now is get financial clarity. That's what people need. They need to be able to like understand this is how much my expenses are. This is how much I'm making every month. What is all this other stuff? And then how much do I have to invest in my mindset, in my family and friends, and in my experiences? And maybe some of these things that I'm spending money on is actually taking away from those things. Like if you're spending too much money on like video games or like watching, like that's all good. But if it gets to a point where it's unhealthy or it's like not beneficial for your future, like you need to start cutting things out of your life and being kind of ruthless with it, I feel like.
Yeah, man.
So
I when I first got my job, I was like, man, I want to spend money on games, and new laptop and new TV and all this
yeah,
stuff.
or the club or
And it
what,
was
there's all
just a
kinds of
bunch of
shit.
stuff. Like, when I first started making more money, I mean, I
Yeah.
was working at like Radio Shack and making, 9 to 5, like $8 or 15, 20. I was a hustler, but I was like, selling. But at the same time, I wasn't, I'm making $20 an hour. Like, it wasn't that
Yeah.
much money. And this was like years ago. But when I started making, more money, then I started, like, I became a little more like at ease. But I that's where you don't want to be. You don't want to be at
Yeah.
ease when you're making more money. You want to be in a situation at, my son is crying over there, but you want to be in a situation at where you're not allowing yourself to be, kind of like an illusion that you have more money. Don't be
Yeah.
don't lie to yourself. Like, the worst
Right.
thing
That's the
you
biggest
can
thing.
do is people start to lie to themselves. They go get themselves that BMW. They go get themselves that, that house they can't afford. They go and buy clothes that they can't afford. They go and spend money on things that they cannot afford. They should not have these things right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to look at you any worse if you don't have a BMW. You're not wearing a Louis Vuitton bag, or you don't got a Rolex watch or whatever. Nobody's going to look at you any worse. You yourself are causing that. You yourself are reflecting that. You feel like you should deserve more, but you're not able to get there. But then you end up spending all your money on things that you don't need, and then you wonder why you can never get to the next level. You can never jump
Right.
to this. It's because you are your worst enemy, and you have to realize that. In many ways, I do that every day. I'm like, man, I should really drive myself. And that's why every time I drive myself further, I'm like, well, let me check myself before I wreck myself. So I always use that slogan. I always have to check myself, because many times I've failed to check myself, and I've made strides forward in ways like, buying something I shouldn't buy. And then but then I said, well, I'm always good at figuring out ways to maximize my profit. So I was like, okay, well, I'm putting myself in the situation I'm in. Now I have to figure out how to get out of it. But don't do that. Try to focus on getting yourself, go through the process of what we're going to teach you here is get yourself financially ready for your investments in yourself, for your credit, for your personal finances and your family, because then you'll have access money and things that you didn't have before, and then you're going to be able to be like, go, okay, now I can afford those things. So have your assets pay for your things. Don't pay for your assets. Basically, don't ever spend money on things that you want. Have your assets do that for you.
Right. And that's where people are going to get. You're going to get funding, and then you're going to have access to more opportunity. And then you can make the other people's money make you enough money to start buying things that you really want. So you're not like, but right
Exactly.
now, a lot of people are probably just in a hole, right? They're like, oh, I don't even know if I have enough money to pay to fix my credit, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we need to get this like financial audit down, so that we know, okay, this is how much you have every month that you're making. This is how much your expenses are. This is how much you have to invest to fix your credit to actually start to, get these things going and be able to get higher funding, so that in the future, right, if you do the work today, your future self will thank you for it. You know what I mean? It's like, otherwise you're screwed.
100%. Spending money on TV or Netflix or whatever else, or coffee, like you spend $5 of coffee a day. If you buy coffee every day, it's like, $25, right? So it's like it's $100 a month. So you can put that $100 into yourself,
Yeah.
When I say like the best way, and one way that I would say is better than always, and I always say this because it's only because it gets you more money. So put
Yeah.
your money into something that's going to get you more money. This program is going to allow you to get your access to more money. You want to be, you want your credit to be perfect, because then you can actually access more money, and then you can access that, and then you can grow from there. Otherwise, if you have no money, go and try to figure out how to steal people's money or take people's money. That's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna want to give you money unless you do something for them. So
Right.
here, we're trying to, obviously help everybody, get everybody to the next level. But before you start to look at yourself, well, how am I going to get more? How am I going to get that thing that I want? I'm going to spend more money on myself. Look at my finances. Instead of spending money on things that you don't need,
Yeah.
or want, I would say spend money on things you need. In this case, you need to work on yourself, and spending money on yourself is the best investment I've experienced in my life, and anything else. And I think, from us too, they're gonna really change if they really start to focus their money on what really needs to be done. In this case, getting their credit right, getting their getting their funding in order, and that way, once they get access to the funding, they have opportunities. So it
Yeah.
goes from having nothing to having something, right? And
Yeah.
but instead of just throwing your money, it's expensing your money on things that you want now, like when you're watching TV or whatever. Like, instead of that, like, why don't you go onto this course and learn how to control your finances and learn how to access more money. So then instead of having, spending $3,000-4,000 on this course, for example, you're going to get up to 100, 200 grand, and accessible money that you didn't have. So now look how much more valuable that is, like 5-10 times your money.
Yeah.
You're literally, by working with us, they're going to be basically 5xing 10xing their own money, because it's money that they have that they don't know about. And that's what I think the financial roadmap is, where people need to understand, you got to get your finances right, find out what your expenses are, put your money where it needs to be. In this case, getting your financial situation in order, and that's like credit repair, and that's getting your trade lines, that's getting your access to the money that you need and get the funding done, and that's what you need to focus on, because your credit score is where your money should be going right now. If your credit
Yeah.
score is not where it's supposed to be, that's a problem. And then
Hmm.
you are now spending money on things that should be going towards fixing your credit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically real talk. You got to, where's your money going? Why isn't it going to fixing your credit? That's my question.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then if you're like, this is more like for like beginner level, but at the advanced level, I really think you should be monitoring your own finances until it just takes more than like an hour of your day. If it takes more than an hour, then hire a CPA and then have them really focus and tell you small tips on what it is. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
100%, like all you should do. So the action steps for after this like course is like the whole thing with like finances is like make more money, spend less money. So we need financial clarity. So you need to be knowing what you're spending a lot of your money on and how much money you actually have, right? And then I'm also going to be able to teach you how to make more money and how to scale that up. But right now, we just need clarity. And that's what the financial audit was all about. I think we nailed it. You have any last thoughts kind of before we wrap
No,
this one up?
I think that's exactly what needs to happen. We'll help provide some spreadsheets or things that, or like things that we can talk about for them if they have questions. And CPA is good. I've actually did my own taxes up to, like, I would say a few years ago. I started with working with a CPA only because it was just so much. Like I just couldn't
Yeah.
like handle the business and my personal. Was like it was just way too much to like do, and time was really important for me. But I think initially I would use TurboTax. Like,
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day, like I was in control of my money to that point. Like I knew how much money I was spending. I knew how much money I was expensing. I knew how to fill out those forms. I educated myself.
Right.
And I was like, well, if they can do it, I can too, right? So here it is: educate yourself, find a solution, audit yourself, be yourself. You be your own audit, and then once you know what's happening, then you can give it off to a CPA and
Yeah,
explain
exactly.
to them what you want them to do. Explain to them what your goals are. Explain to them what you're trying to accomplish and how you're trying to save money on the tax side. Remember, there's two ways to make money. There's revenue and tax. So you can make money on the revenue side, or you can make money or save money on the tax side. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's another topic. We'll focus on that. But auditing, definitely, I think the team was really going to understand after seeing this video for sure.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think what you said there is like, this is all about taking control of your finances. I think you nailed it right there. Like, get control. A lot of people are out of control with their money. They're just like, it comes magically and it leaves magically. You know what I mean? And like, this is about no more magic. This is about control. And then there are going to be periods of your life where you're making fucking tons of money. And then there's going to be times where there's less, but at least you have control and you can know when those happen. Like, I've had a lot of jobs that are very seasonal where I'll make tons of money in the summer and then nothing in the winter, but I'll know that and I'll know my expenses and I'll save for the winters and I'll work all winter and then I'll work all summer and I'll be able to, continually grow. So
And I think we can continue. Like that was probably the audit. The next step is like fixing your financial situation. You starting to
yeah,
fix your financial situation. I think that was the next topic. And I think the next topic we can talk about is how do you fix your financial situation? So
yeah,
in this situation, I would say, you would, in any situation that you're in, you have to look at are you happy? Like, are you happy where you are? If the money they're making at the job that you're at, is that a good situation for you?
yeah,
And if it's not, you need to think about that. You need to think about what you're doing. And at this, I'm not saying quit your 9 to 5 job. I'm just saying, like, is it giving you enough money for your time? Do you have other skill sets that you don't know about, or that you can use or grow from, right? And then look at those options. If not, maintain your 9 to 5 job, for example, which is what I did when I was first starting out. Maintain my 9 to 5 job, and I started to, invest my money. But before I invested my money, my audit was already clean. I knew exactly where my money was. I knew what everything was coming in and what was coming out. And I would have that 40-40-20 rule, when I had 40% of my money just for expenses, and I would save 40% of my money, and that 40% was that's a large number, right? How can I save 40%? Well, I can save 40% because I know that money is going to make me more money. So
yeah,
it's like 40% is not like, oh, I'm putting it in the bank and just letting it sit there. No, I know that 40% of my money is used to grow
yeah.
me. grow me to the next level. And that's where the financial situation starts to change. When you start to look at your overall income, let's say you make $1,000 a month, you're like, okay, $400 goes to my taxes or expenses or my daily, my bills, right? My
Mhm.
living expenses. And this is obviously hypothetical. And then you got $400 going to like your savings. Your $400 a month you can save and you can invest and you can do things with. And then 20% just to live, right? $200 to live off of, go eat food. At the end of the day, like that's where I broke it down for me. That really worked because it kind of made me more in control of where I was coming from, how much money I was bringing in. And I was like, well, how much money am I really spending? And I would just separate out. Here's my expenses. What's the percentage of my overall income of that? How much in my expenses? What am I saving? How much percentage of my overall income am I saving? And then my play money or my day-to-day money, which is like, going out to eat somewhere or whatever, that money no longer, not buying Rolexes, not buying cars, not buying anything. That 220% is spent on my expenses on as far as like if I want to go out to dinner on the weekend or if I want to, if I want
Experiences.
to, yeah, expect and like for example, right? Things like that, like your overall experiences. You have to, as a human being, we have to interact. We have to live life. Otherwise, we become depressed and we don't want to do
Yeah.
anything. And then we're like, we might buy, we might go buy that game just to make us happy, right? But the thing is that's so that if you buy a game, you buy whatever, that's 20% of your income. So like, look at how much that game costs. It's a $50-$60 game. If you only have $200, you shouldn't buy that game, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that's where it comes down to. So, and that's, I think, start fixing your financial situation, start, saving your money, putting that money into play to play for you. And then you're just going to start to see what, your growth. And then I think you could talk about certain things they can do to start fixing their financial situations as far as bringing in money and things like that. Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a whole nother coaching thing. We
Yeah.
just have 5 more minutes, so I think we'll probably wrap it up right
Yeah.
now, man. But I think that was solid.